Hi, we're going to be looking at Quick Bytes Series 10 today. And I'm here to talk to you about shadow IT and why is it becoming increasingly important to discuss this term. So shadow IT is a term that is given to activities that's happening within the organizations, wherein the business ask is so huge and so quick and fast that IT is not able to respond to those needs as effectively and quickly as is possible. So the business ask is we want rapid growth in a certain area, we want big data capability, we want an analytics capability, we want a file sharing capability, we want an enhanced cybersecurity protection kind of capability. So it could be anything that the business is really asking for. And IT is not able to respond in a decent amount of time. That's when the internal department within the IT is shadowed and is replaced by an external unit. So they actually bypass the internal IT and go to the external vendors or the outsourcing partners and get the job done. So most often, the proliferation of shadow IT is increasing because of rapid digitalization, digital transformation, and digitization needs that is there. So you actually bypass your IT team and go get something from the other side. So most often it happens even without the knowledge of the head of engineering or CIO, CTO, etc. that businesses are needing to move so fast and so quickly that they often don't have the time to even touch base with their own internal IT team and say, do you have this capability? Can we get it done? So they just go to a vendor and get it off the shelf and get things done. So there are a lot of strategies that you can use to bypass the shadow IT. So, it could be things like you like a nice piece of open source software that's helping you. For instance, like it's easier to share your files on Dropbox or Google Drive or pretty much OneDrive, as opposed to internal file sharing systems, which are not so effective and easy to use. But then your IT team actually would not allow that to happen, and you might need to bypass the IT team and probably install that for a certain period of time and get things done. So it is found that increasingly companies with or without their knowledge have a huge proliferation of shadow IT in their own company. And so this could be a good as well as bad trend. So good because you can scale up fast, you can meet the market demands fast, and you can the economies of acquiring the market is better than the economies of probably the cost involved in the cost of spend in such exercises. But bad is your own internal IT doesn't have a clue on what its requirements are and how does it need to respond to faster changing market requirements. So this is in essence what is shadow IT. So it could also be with the BYOD devices that shadow IT is present. So you want to do a certain piece of let us say photo editing, which perhaps is better only in Photoshop and not on CorelDRAW, or you want to access a piece or a website which is rendered better using the Chrome browser or browser X, whose version is not internally supported within the company and so on. So then you could have this issue of shadow IT that without the knowledge of the IT, the teams actually go ahead and get that done or bring their own devices into the corporate IT lab landscape of companies, and because it's easy to get things done, so they use that and get things done. So typically the shadow IT issue is quite a challenge to a lot of decision makers and technology leaders. So what they essentially end up doing is what Gartner calls it as bimodal IT. So if you have a bimodal IT, trimodal IT, or what they call it as multi-speed IT. So you've got systems of reference which are up and running, your breadwinning applications. So that is the system of record, and then you have the systems of engagement which you create on the site for innovation engines or market growth engines that are differentiators on your current existing legacy that is there. So that's a whole new topic all by itself. We will talk about that in some edition of the Quick Bytes. So here is leaving you with this tip on shadow IT. I hope it was useful. So do like, share, and subscribe for more such tips. Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned.